This is Capital Eyewitness News with Greg Robson and Virginia Nichols.
A united campaign to stop ethnic violence in Australia.
2 youths appear in court after a high-speed car chase in Canberra.
And the ACT's Michael Milton wins gold at the Paralympics in Lillehammer.
Good evening. Federal and state governments are planning a united campaign to stop ethnic violence in Australia. Ethnic affairs ministers from around the nation met in Canberra today following recent attacks on property in Melbourne and the national capital.
Political differences were briefly put aside today. Labor and Liberal governments joined forces against feuding ethnic groups, hoping to
impress the communities that violence is not appropriate in the Australian climate.
But some politicians see themselves as partly to blame for the outbreak of fires and vandalism that followed Australia's recognition of the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia.
We could have done without the firebrand intervention of some state leaders. That, I think, has been the genesis of a lot of the community anger.
And that particular Premier, Victoria's Jeff Kennett, who's also State Ethnic Affairs Minister, couldn't make it today, despite his controversial support earlier for the Greek community opposed to Macedonia. Government leaders believe that appealing for calm and soothing wounded feelings is the only way to take the heat out of this community violence, which, if left unchecked, could threaten the bipartisan support of multicultural policies. So now, neither side is at fault.
You can't blame these communities for the acts of violence. One shouldn't presume that they are the ones who are guilty of it.
The minister says other unnamed groups may be responsible, but as to whether they're racial extremists is a matter for police investigation. Paul Smith, 10 News.
A push to give workers a share of rising company profits has been condemned by both business groups and the federal opposition. The government's support has been branded irresponsible and threatening to the economic recovery.
Prime Minister Keating led the charge, telling businesses they should get off their tails and start investing. But ACTU President Martin Ferguson upped the ante, threatening a wages blowout if profits were not poured back into enterprises. Both leaders are concerned the restoration of company profits has not led to significant business investment. That's now being seen as holding back a sustained recovery, and with that, jobs growth. The ACTU's solution, give workers a share of the rising profits, a stance the federal opposition branded irresponsible.
Running around threatening a wages blowout is the most irresponsible thing I've seen a Prime Minister do in a long time. Mr Keating is threatening the whole of the economic recovery by waving the stick.
Ironically, a Westpac Bank survey due out this weekend is expected to show a buoyant outlook towards investment, with many companies actually considering taking on more staff. But the country's major employer group says that won't happen if there's strong wages growth.
We are in the midst of a recovery, and what we have to be doing is creating stable conditions so that businesses can expand, employ and invest. And a wages push is the last thing this country needs at this time.
Mr Cates says the problem lies in confidence. Many businesses are still concerned the economic growth now underway is nothing more than a boom and bust cycle. Alan Russell, 10 News.
2 16-year-old youths appeared in court today after a high-speed car chase through Canberra streets last night. The pursuit ended with the car crashing into another vehicle on Canberra Avenue.
All cars reminded regional instructions not to endanger themselves or any member of the public involved in this pursuit.
This was the result of a high-speed car chase through the streets of Griffith last night. It's alleged a top speed of 140 kilometres an hour was reached. The police officer, a former pursuit driving trainer, warned them to pull over, requests which went unheeded. It's alleged the youths eventually crashed the car into a stationary vehicle on Canberra Avenue. The woman inside was not injured. Both tried to escape, one injuring his leg when he hit it on a police car. One hid in the Manuka shopping centre. Police eventually took both into custody. Today, police warned of the dangers of high-speed driving.
Well, they're not only a danger to themselves, they're a danger to the police. Some are pretty irrational in the way they drive a vehicle. And they're certainly the biggest danger is the danger to members of the public.
2 youths appeared in the ACT Children's Court today on 22 charges. One was remanded in custody until the end of the month, the other released on bail until April 15. Sharon Marshall, 10 News.
A Canberra doctor accused of sexually assaulting patients more than 20 years ago has asked the Supreme Court to stop a medical board inquiry into the allegations. The medical board's lawyer told the Supreme Court today that the inquiry was in the public's interest. He argued there were already 10 written complaints against the doctor. The doctor's lawyer said the complaints were from so long ago that there were hardly any patient records left, and the board inquiry should be abandoned. Justice Terence Higgins adjourned the case until next month.
Calls today for a Royal Commission type inquiry into the ACT government's failed deal with Vanuatu betting company Vitab. The deal has resulted in the ACT TAB's expulsion from the Victorian-controlled SuperTab betting pool, threatening ACTAB's future.
As the Canberra racing industry took its cap in hand to the New South Wales TAB today, Sports Minister Wayne Berry was facing more questions over the Vitab deal and opposition calls for a powerful independent inquiry. Mr Berry sees no reason for such a probe.
Ask some questions and I'll give you some answers.
What of the background of Vitab's directors?
I don't know their names and addresses. I don't know their addresses either. Is that the grounds for an inquiry? Come on, let's not be silly about this.
Its relationship with another nearby Australian-owned betting shop in Vanuatu and potential for money laundering.
You better ask them. I mean, as far as we're concerned, what Vitab does overseas is a matter for them.
Mr Berry does admit the deal didn't do the ACT any good.
I wish they'd said, at the outset, we don't like it. And if you do take it on, we'll kick you out. Because I know what would happen then. We wouldn't have signed it.
Clearly, I would prefer that the Vitab deal had not got the ACT-TAB into difficulty with our Victorian arrangement. I'd prefer that hadn't happened.
The Chief Minister is standing by her deputy, but says she'd consider an independent inquiry.
That inquiry needs quite sweeping powers because we've seen from Mr Berry up to date absolutely no willingness at all to come forward with any papers. We also know that this inquiry is going to have the capacity to move offshore.
The last thing any government wants during an election year is a Royal Commission type inquiry. And while the government claims it's done nothing wrong, the opposition insists too many questions remain unanswered. Damien Smith, 10 News.
Canberra's Michael Milton has struck gold at the 1994 Paralympics in Lillehammer. His success in the giant slalom event brings Australia's medal tally to 7.
In Albertville 2 years ago, Michael Milton took the silver in the giant slalom. Now he was going for gold on his training ski. Milton had damaged his race model in the first run. The cheering signalling a win by just 0.82 of a second from Alexander Spitz of Germany. And Milton's parents were there too to savour the moment.
It suited me quite well, and it's all over now and I've won. It's just fantastic.
Milton's favourite event, the slalom, is still to come. He may finish with 4 medals from as many events. Another anxious parent in the stands. Her son, James Patterson from Terrigal, was bidding for gold in the upper body disabilities category. Patterson finished 3rd.
Really tried hard to get the time back on my second run, and I didn't quite make it to number 1, but I'm very happy with 3rd. It's great.
And Sydney's David Monk also grabbed a bronze in the sit ski. Our success so far is twice that of Albertville. Owen Martin, 10 News.
When we return, a Canberra man charged with defrauding the Commonwealth.
Police warn Canberrans to behave at this weekend's food and wine frolic.
Employers urged to introduce family-friendly policies in the workplace.
And later, a Sydney artist takes out the 1994 Archibald Prize.
.30 tonight, mystery and suspicion.
I didn't kill Victor.
Secret lives and denial.
How many more lies are there that I know nothing about?
Murder at the Grange.
You cow.
The P.D. James Mysteries with Detective Dalgleish on Capital.
What's inside every pack of Pal Meaty Bites that builds a healthier dog 5 ways? There's protein for a strong body, polyunsaturates for a shiny coat. There's calcium for strong teeth and bones, vitamins for bright eyes, and whole grain cereals for energy.
Come on, boys. You're getting faster every day, guys.
Top breeders recommend Pal Meaty Bites to build a healthier dog 5 ways.
Magnet Mart, always cheaper, cheaper.
Magnet Mart will be open from 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. this Monday, Canberra Day. Hurry in for some great one-day Monday specials, 9 till 4. Magnet Mart, Belcon and Phillip, Queanbeyan, on Monday.
Bigfoot. The best score for ball. Bigfoot. The best score for ball. Bigfoot.
The new better value Bigfoot from Pizza Hut. At just $14.90, it's the best score for sure.
Bigfoot.
Size up a sofa at Oz Design Furniture and you'll find a wide variety of modern and classic styles. Great value with prices from $399. Choose from a stunning range of over 100 fabrics and colours. And for peace of mind, these sofas carry a 5-year warranty. Plus, for a limited time, free fabric protection valued at over $50. So size up a sofa and size up a great deal, only at Oz Design. Furniture so good at prices so low. Open 7 days.
Panther Printing is opening soon in the Valley. Shop 24, Homeworld Centre, Tuggeranong. Panther Printing, printers of excellence.
The Federal Highway was closed for 3 hours this afternoon after an accident on a dangerous stretch of the road near Lake George. Traffic banked up for kilometres in both directions after 2 cars collided on a sweeping curve north of the lake. The smash left one man trapped in the wreckage. He was freed and taken to Woden Valley Hospital with serious head and chest injuries and multiple fractures. 2 other people have also been taken to hospital with minor injuries.
A 38-year-old man accused of defrauding the Commonwealth appeared in a Canberra court today. Dharamdev Ramdam of Palmerston is facing 1 count of organised fraud and 11 charges of defrauding the Commonwealth. He did not enter a plea to the charges. He was released on $5,000 bail on the condition that he report daily to police.
With record crowds expected at this weekend's Food and Wine Frolic, police have warned they'll not tolerate drunk or rowdy behaviour. A big clean-up campaign will immediately follow the event to ensure all broken bottles and alcohol are removed.
Every year, thousands of people file into Commonwealth Park for the festival's Food and Wine Frolic, and every year tons of rubbish is left behind. Last year there was so much broken glass embedded in some areas that a week later organisers had to relocate a planned concert at Stage 88. This year the festival committee has arranged for a big clean-up immediately following the event.
This year we're really trying to make an effort. I mean, this park is wonderful and we don't really want to leave it in an awful mess.
With more than 130,000 people expected this year, police will be stationed in and around the park to monitor crowd behaviour.
There will be uniformed police rostered for crowd control duties and controlling the behaviour of some of the participants in the Food and Wine Frolic.
While festival organisers and authorities urge everyone to have a good time, the message for those planning to attend is simple. If you drink, don't drive.
We'll be rostering police to undertake random breath testing in both the north and south sides of Canberra, both during and after the times that the Wine and Food Frolic is on.
The Food and Wine Frolic remains one of the biggest events on the festival calendar. This year, 21 restaurants and 9 wineries will be serving up to 75 different menu items for people to sample. Local and national stage acts will ensure the crowds are kept entertained, and some familiar favourites will be back, including the popular Waiters Race at noon. The frolic kicks off at 9 o'clock on Sunday, with tickets for all stalls available on the day. Grant Galuli, 10 News.
Questions tonight over Canberra's viability as a good property investment market. The $250 million purchase by Canberra's Capital Property Trust of the Optus Tower in Sydney has prompted the government to talk up Canberra's commercial property prospects.
For Capital Property Trust, its purchase of this prime piece of Sydney real estate for around half its construction cost was a bargain and a good opportunity to venture out of Canberra.
This represents a very major departure from our Canberra portfolio, but it was important for us to grow, and we didn't think that Canberra was the place for us to invest significant amounts of money.
Does that mean Canberra's commercial property market is no longer worth investing in?
Absolutely to the contrary. The values of properties have held up well here. So obviously, as an investor, if they can buy cheaply in one place, then they've taken advantage of that. But it doesn't mean that the Canberra market is in any way disadvantaged.
But governments, territory and federal have come under criticism for not allowing the property market to prosper.
Look at, there are quite a few policies, of course, that probably are restricting growth somewhat in Canberra, and that comes under the National Capital Plan of the numbers of public servants that they'll have in the central business district.
While the business community calls for greater opportunity, the government claims Canberra is still the #1 investment prospect for growth.
Then they should, I think, maintain their confidence in our economy and invest here in terms of a good and a growing economy rather than...
Ms Follett says the Optus purchase simply represents a good deal for a Canberra company which is exporting its expertise out of the territory. Damien Smith, 10 News.
The federal government has announced a rise in pensions and unemployment benefits. The increase will take effect from next Monday. The announcement comes on the eve of the crucial Bonithan by-election in Adelaide.
The electorate takes in the industrial centre of Elizabeth. Unemployment there is twice the national average. From Monday, a new mature age allowance for the older unemployed comes in, and a $3 a week rise for all unemployment beneficiaries. For good measure, the indexed rise for all pensions also comes into effect. It's the benefit of incumbency. The measures were foreshadowed. The by-election is timed nicely. Thank you. Almost enough to make up for the Prime Minister forgetting his own candidate's name.
She knew that these people had turned up largely to support Martin Nichols. That's the thing about the Liberals.
Martin Evans, that is.
Martin Evans, I tell you.
Not so good for Labor. An opinion poll showing the state Liberal government is riding very high.
But certainly the polls are a concern. One is not taking the result on Saturday for granted.
Not even the Liberal candidate, Andy Markle, believes he can win. This morning on radio, he was wishing away the federal Liberals' leadership woes. This afternoon, he was downplaying them.
The leadership's not an issue when you door knock these streets. People are interested in jobs and jobs and jobs.
And senior Liberal Alexander Downer is getting in some preemptive damage control.
It'd be a miracle if we got even within striking distance of winning.
6 years ago in the safe Labor seat of Port Adelaide, the Liberals were able to generate a by-election swing of 11%. John Hewson tomorrow will be more than happy if he can get half that. Paul Bongiorno, 10 News.
Employers are being urged to introduce family-friendly policies in the workplace to ease the pressure on parents with children. The move comes as the federal government tries to focus attention on the plight of families during the International Year of the Family.
One of the biggest problems facing parents today is how to juggle their lives around working and caring for their children. It's a key issue to emerge so far from the International Year of the Family.
The challenge of workers with family responsibilities, the wedding between family and the workplace.
Rosemary Crowley is the federal government's Family Services Minister and is overlooking Australia's role in this Year of the Family. She's very concerned parents are not given a fair go in the workplace and wants the business sector to come up with more family-friendly policies. It's an issue supported by some well-known parents.
It doesn't matter how devoted you are to your job. If you've got children, there are going to be times when you need time off because a child is sick or has to go to the doctor or the dentist or there's sports day or you've got to see the teacher. And I think the sooner the workplace recognises these demands on the people we employ, the sooner we'll be able to do something constructive about it.
You can't have such rigid policy and such rigid structures that don't allow the flexibility for your managers to be able to take these sorts of issues into account.
One option is for employers to offer special days off to care for sick children. The union movement has also taken up the fight and will focus its efforts on this issue during the year. The federal government plans to come up with a blueprint on how governments at all levels can assist families. This agenda will include policies for those not only in the workforce, but also to help the unemployed. The government has set up a council to oversee the debate and a discussion paper on these issues will be released next week. The public are welcome to contribute and are urged to take part in any number of events organised to mark this special family year. The highlight will be the Day of the Family in May. Stephanie Kennedy, 10 News.
Coming up after the break, a new deal brings peace to the city of Sarajevo.
50 years on, a Frenchman in court facing war crime charges.
And an international fur demonstration goes up in flames in Germany.
Saturday on Capital. At the height of the Cold War, an Army lieutenant working on a highly secret atomic project mysteriously vanished. Just where he went remains an unsolved mystery. Then, it's a noble story.
I really need to learn this.
Riddled with corruption. When Mickey Rooney stars on Murder, She Wrote and on Casualty... Where do we get these from, Rich? It's time to get a little worried.
I'm being sued by Karen Forrest.
And time...
This way.
Right, for a little romance. An arresting night of television, Saturday on Capital.
While the media sing the news of financial recovery, our accountants are playing a very different tune. If you're to survive the recession, they tell us, you must liquidate stock, a warehouse full of stock. Offer any price to the people of Canberra. Sell at a loss if necessary, but clear stock urgently or face closure. For Kadir & Sons, it's a question of survival. This special 4-day event at Exhibition Park must close Monday at 6. Don't miss out.
Take the KFC Value Challenge. KFC promises you better family value or your money back. $9.95 buys you this KFC Family Value meal with 8 pieces of original recipe chicken, a large potato and gravy, 2 double-serve salads and 4 rolls. Or $9.95 buys you around 2/3 of this family-sized pizza. It's your family, you choose. Take the KFC Value Challenge. Better family value or your money back.
Look at these boots. Men's genuine leather boots just $69.95, including men's leather hikers by Rivers. And look, these women's leather hikers only $59.95 and these only $89.95. Hurry, they won't last and they're only at Frawley's, the people who put feet first.
Save on winter essentials at Allen's. Downing your quilts a sacrifice. Choose 3 or 4 blanket quilts from $49. Yes, buy 3 or 4 blanket warmth for the same price. Plus 100% feather pillows are $8.95 now at Allen's.
Achieving new heights in 94 is the goal for the Canberra Times Cannons. Take your first step to higher living and achieve your family's goals by buying now at Homestead Rise, Jerrabombra, the HIA Housing Estate of the Year. Jerrabombra Park freehold land, no time limit to build, unlike Canberra, where you have leasehold land and a specific time limit to build. Homestead Rise quality full-sized home sites, no cottage blocks, no courtyard blocks, and no battle axe blocks. Buy now and save $3,000 to $6,000 on the price of the next stage. Don't delay, call out to Jerrabombra this weekend and save thousands.
Now to the weather, and we cross to Mike at the footy.
That's for sure. It's the first home game for the Canberra Rays here at Bruce Stadium. Got the flag, got the jersey, and thanks kids. Tonight we're playing South Sydney. I'm told in about 2 hours there'll be a rabbit stew all around Canberra. It's a sea of green out in the Bruce Stadium. There's about 7,000 or 8,000 people there so far, and in the last 10 or 15 minutes the crowds are gathering here at the gate and moving into the game. It does kick off at 7:30 tonight, and good news for the Raiders supporters, Brett Mullins will be joining the rest of the team on the paddock. It's pretty cold out here right now. If you're coming out, make sure you do rug up. Speaking of cold, it was freezing this morning. Got down to 4 degrees in the city, 3 in the suburbs, but once the sun was up shining, a glorious day, fine and sunny, a top of 19 degrees. That's 6 below the average, but if you could escape the wind, it was a lovely day. Let's have a look at the local temperature table on this, what is it? I'm just trying to think what day it is. It's the 18th of March, Friday the 18th of March. And in the background, a shot for the South Sydney supporters barking up the wrong tree. Well, right now we're sitting on 14 degrees, the humidity at 50%, and the wind in east northeasterly blowing at 12 kilometres per hour. The UV reading, and well, like the past few days, not getting too high, but there's still enough strength in the sun to get burnt. And there is no paper and cardboard recycling reminder because Monday is a public holiday. I'll be back, as will Peter Chapman from the Bruce Stadium, seeing the Raiders kill tonight. Back shortly.
Thanks, Mike. A new deal in Bosnia tonight, with the Serbs signing an agreement which will partly lift the siege and free up the city of Sarajevo. Expected to come into effect next week, the latest concession will permit travel for humanitarian and business.
Days of procrastination, then last-minute objections. Finally, the Bosnian Serbs and the government in Sarajevo signed the Freedom of Movement Agreement, prodded hard by the UN negotiator, Sergio de Mello.
We agree that this is a first, modest, but very important step, and the first steps are always the most difficult.
And by anyone's definition, it is not complete freedom. Both sides have their reasons for caution. The Bosnian Serbs still see the city as divided. The Bosnian government privately fears an outpouring of the population. Maps, roadblocks and checkpoints dominate the negotiations. British warriors are standing by to escort people using the main road out of the city to the town of Zenica. Only by bus, with an escort, and having their names submitted 24 hours in advance, will they be able to travel. This is a nation obsessed with checking identity papers and still fearful of war. For 3 days, confidence has been built by the sight of the few serviceable trams rattling down the main road, crammed full. This afternoon, a passenger was shot and injured by a sniper. The agreement signed today is rightly termed a modest step. A citizen of Sarajevo still cannot walk down this road and out of his city unhindered and unchecked. There'll have to be much more negotiation before this basic right is agreed to. Kate Adey, BBC News, Sarajevo.
For the first time, a Frenchman is on trial facing war crimes charges. Nicknamed the Hangman of Lyon, Paul Touvier is accused of murdering 7 Jews in 1944. The 78-year-old doesn't deny the serious charges. He claims the 7 deaths helped save many more.
Paul Touvier appeared in court today after almost half a century on the run to face charges of crimes against humanity. More than £500,000 have been spent converting this courtroom in Versailles. Touvier faces his accusers from behind reinforced glass, isolated even from the defense lawyers. Outside and inside the court there was a strong police presence, a reminder that passions still run high. Demonstrators called for justice, among them a survivor of Auschwitz, whose family had died in the gas chambers. Their anger arises from Touvier's decision to choose Jews and only Jews for execution, making his crime one against humanity. Among the first to arrive was the son of one of the 7 men selected by Touvier to be shot.
He was killed like a new baby, a Jew.
As a young man during the war, Touvier was an enthusiastic member of the French paramilitary police force, which served the German occupiers. He's never denied his involvement in the shooting of the 7 hostages in June 1944, here next to a cemetery wall near Lyon. But he says he was acting under orders and insists that in the end his actions saved lives. The Germans wanted 30 men shot. He says he persuaded them that 7 would be enough. Stephen Jessel, BBC News, Versailles.
Pope John Paul has accepted an invitation to visit the Holy Land during a meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin at the Vatican. The audience was the highest meeting of its kind since the December Landmark Accord, after almost 2,000 years of hostile relations. During his address, Prime Minister Rabin said there were enemies of peace in the Middle East, and he believed his talks with the Pope would relaunch the Middle East peace process.
An international fur fair was the target of anti-fur demonstrators in Germany. Cages draped in furs were set alight. About 20 protesters from the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals chanted slogans. Demand and sales of furs increased during 1993, despite growing protest from environmental groups.
Protests too in the streets of Paris. 32,000 demonstrators clash with police to demand the French government withdraw a new law allowing bosses to pay young people less than a minimum wage. Vehicles were overturned and several hundred young people threw stones and bottles at riot police. There were only 4 arrests.
Despite the resolution of some legal troubles for 2 of America's most scandal-ridden personalities, the problems just won't go away. Controversy seems to follow Tonya Harding and Michael Jackson. Both have been unable to put their notoriety behind them.
Although she pleaded for privacy yesterday, Tonya Harding was back in public today, and for some unknown reason, skating.
You were surprised you came out and skated, Tonya. How come you came today? Because I love skating. I like skating.
With yesterday's guilty plea and resignation from the US Figure Skating Association, Tonya's skating career effectively is over. Many of the professional skating companies are sanctioned by the body, which reportedly will consider revoking Harding's national title. Oregon prosecutors said today they agreed to plea bargain because much of the evidence against Harding is circumstantial and depends on unreliable witnesses such as Harding's ex-husband.
We're not going to spend the resources of our system trying to drive Ms. Harding into the ground to admit each and everything that she did.
In defense of another beleaguered celebrity, Katherine Jackson was ordered by subpoena to testify before a grand jury investigating child molestation charges against her son, Michael.
I'd just like to say before I went in, I was sure my son's innocent.
Mrs. Jackson was ordered not to reveal what was discussed during the hearing, but investigators likely asked about young guests Michael welcomed to the family's homes and reports of hush payments to parents of the children alleged by Sister LaToya. In a statement, Michael said today that his continual persecution by the DA's office has now extended to the harassment of his beloved mother. Andrew Warren, 10 News.
And now with this week's finance report, JB Weir's Rod Sutherland.
Thanks, Virginia. Good evening. The good news this week was confirmation that the economy is growing strongly while inflation still remains in check. This should help dampen fears of any imminent interest rate rise for the time being. However, one aspect of the GDP figures that did raise the ire of the Prime Minister was the low level of business investment, particularly at this stage of the economic cycle when company profits are growing quite strongly. The PM took out the big stick and threatened business with unrestrained wages growth unless that profit is used to expand business. However, the Prime Minister does have a short memory. Most of the profit growth up until now has gone to repairing damaged balance sheets caused by the recession we had to have. With companies busy repaying debt and catching up on the replacement of obsolete equipment, this has left little in the kitty for capital expansion. There is little need for this sort of threat from the PM, and if he were to carry it out, then the only thing we could look forward to is rising inflation and higher interest rates. The dollar was slightly easier again today, currently at 71.2 cents against the US dollar. A quiet day on the share market saw the All Ordinaries finish down less than a point at 21.63. Top stock BHP eased 10 cents to $17.36.
The government tells us the Australian economy is the best it's looked in 30 years. But what does that mean to you? How will it affect interest rates, your pay packet, and the people on Struggle Street? 7 o'clock tonight, Alan Jones, live.
Take the KFC Value Challenge. KFC promises you better family value or your money back. $9.95 buys you this KFC Family Value meal of a whole tender roast chicken, a large potato and gravy, and 2 double-serve salads. Or $9.95 buys you around 2/3 of this family-sized pizza. It's your family, you choose. Take the KFC Value Challenge. Better family value or your money back.
Easy to assemble wheelbarrow. 2 metal handles, 1 wheel, 4 cubic capacity. Great size, great price, $65. Dynamic lifter, the ideal organic fertilizer for trees, shrubs, veggie gardens. For strong growth, healthier soil balance. Dynamic price, $16.95. Makita grinder disc, 520 watt motor, easily cuts, grinds and sands. $99 with bonus storage case.
Magnet Mart, always cheaper, cheaper. Oi!
You'll enjoy international festivals and sport. You'll experience unique cultures and natural wonders. You'll love every piece of Victoria.
March into Allen's Retrovision Superstores and save. Mobile phones with features galore, $4.99. Sharp hi-fi stereo VCRs, just $7.49. Sharp stereo music systems with 5-disc CD, $4.29. Akai remote control TVs, just $5.59. Panasonic mid-size Genius microwaves, $3.99. Whirlpool frost-free refrigerators, just $8.99 after a guaranteed $100 trade-in on your old fridge. At Allen's Retrovision Superstores with Fishery Open Canberra Day holiday.
More now on tonight's top stories. A united campaign from federal and state governments to stop ethnic violence in Australia. Ethnic affairs ministers from around the nation met in Canberra today following recent attacks on property in Melbourne and the ACT.
A court appearance for two 16-year-old youths after a high-speed car chase through Canberra streets last night. The pursuit ended with the car crashing into another vehicle in Griffith.
And Canberra's Michael Milton strikes gold at the 1994 Paralympics in Lillehammer. His success in the giant slalom event brings Australia's medal tally to 7.
Some of the most famous figures of recent Australian history have gone on display at Old Parliament House, all in the aid of fun. The Rubbery Years is a celebration of rubbery figures, the caricatures created during the 1980s by political satirist for the Age newspaper Peter Nicholson. Sir Joe, portrayed by comedian Jerry Connolly, was on hand today to present a guided tour of the exhibition, which includes several sculptures dedicated to the former Queensland Premier.
A Sydney artist has taken out this year's Archibald Prize. The 39-year-old collects $35,000 for his efforts.
They watched, they waited, artists and art lovers alike holding their breath as the announcement was made.
The trustees have decided to award the prize of $35,000 to Francis Giaccio for homage to John Reichardt, and it's over there.
Thanks, Brad. Just slide in for a moment, please.
For relatively unknown artist Francis Giacco, it was time to experience the pressures of newfound fame.
I was hoping to be hung, but no expectations of winning.
His portrait, homage to John Reichardt, features his longtime friend, a musician who died in January this year, after he'd seen the finished work.
He was just a wonderful character. It was a real inspiration for painting his personality and his looks.
The trustees' decision never escapes criticism. Among this elite artistic crowd, there were mumblings. Many felt James Gleeson should have been the winner for his portrait of the artist as an evolving landscape. The 79-year-old artist, whose renowned surrealist works are represented in every major gallery in Australia, was a favourite because of his long-term contribution to Australian art. But all this speculation just adds up to controversy, a regular Archibald feature. Angela Bishop, 10 News.
Sports coming up next, and for that we have to cross to Peter Chapman at Bruce Stadium.
Thanks very much, Greg. Yes, I thought I'd get an early mark to make sure I'd get a seat out here, and from the way the crowd's rolling in, I'm glad I did. I'll be back after the break with all the sports information, including the action from the second cricket test in South Africa.
Once again, that's got pulling, and that's got to be close.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I'm your twin brother.
Oh, obviously.
And Danny DeVito.
What is this, candid camera?
Comedy's most unlikely duo.
Way to go, Mom.
And the most unlikely twins. Sunday on Capital.
Vincent van Gogh, genius or madman? How did he see the world? And why did he paint what he did, the way he did? Find out in part 1 of The Great Artists. It has page after page of his paintings and fascinating insights into the forces that drove him. With fine art prints and art postcards to collect, Van Gogh is the first in a weekly series on the world's great artists, and part 1 costs just 95 cents.
If you're between 16 and 21 with a hot idea and a plan for the future, there's 8 lots of 20 grand on offer in the Nescafe Big Break. Call 1-800-630-630 for details. The Nescafe Big Break, giving young Aussies a chance.
The beaches, one of the 7 wonders of New South Wales. Made to measure for 2, or 4, or more. Visit historic sites, catch a wave, or the catch of the day. And stay in a romantic hut by the sea.
Discover why the beaches are one of the 7 wonders of New South Wales at Murrumarang Resort, where the animals greet you, national parks are all around, and the nightlife is wild. Just call 044 786 355. It's unbelievable! Kingsley's chicken is the fantastic.
Presenting Kingsley's awesome $3.80 meal deals. 1 succulent quarter chicken, a serving of awesome chips, and a cold drink, just $3.80. Or a ginormous, unbelievable chicken schnitzel burger and a drink, just $3.80. Kingsley's unbelievable, awesome $3.80 meal deals. That's Kingsley's Chicken's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Awesome. Kingsley's.
8:30 Monday.
I want this one alive.
Academy Award winner Carl Malden is back.
Who busted him? We both did.
Back on the streets he made his own.
I'm just a cop.
For the first time on television.
There's no way out for either one.
Back to the streets of San Francisco Monday.
And first up in sport, the story we told you earlier in the bulletin, Michael Milton, the Canberra skier, has won gold at the Paralympics in Lillehammer.
Milton was competing in the giant slalom, an event in which he'd taken silver at Albertville 2 years ago. And it looked as though silver was again to be the result for the Canberra skier after the first run, before a brilliant burst in his second to take the gold. At first he thought he'd failed, but the scoreboard reflected his victory. Milton is still to ski his gold medal winning event from Albertville, the slalom. That comes up tomorrow.
Well, the second cricket test is evenly poised after the first day's play in Cape Town. South Africa forged 237 runs for the loss of 5 wickets in an innings highlighted by a century to opener Andrew Hudson.
Careful to show their best behaviour, the Aussies watched Gary Kirsten and Andrew Hudson bolt past 50 in only 10 overs. Don't fall short. A Kirsten misjudgment finally prompted the breakthrough. Michael Slater too quick for his rival opener. Only 7 runs later, the vital wicket, Hansi Cronje out for 2. Boys bowled in, that's good bowling from McGrath. Craig McDermott continued the revival. Kepler Wessel's gone for 11, 3 for 100. Hudson remained untroubled, sharing an 89-run stand with Peter Kirsten. Oh, good shot, beautifully placed through it. Celebrating his 29th birthday, Hudson received his ultimate present just before tea.
His second Test 100, first against Australia and first in South Africa.
But Steve Waugh cut the party short.
And once again, that stopped fooling. And that's got to be close.
Another dangerous partnership ended by some brilliant fielding. Hudson run out for 102. Soon followed back by Jonty Rhodes for 5.
Well bowled, Glenn McGrath.
Kirsten and Brian McMillan survived until stumps. Their stubborn stand lifting the hopes of every local follower. James Knight, 10 News.
Well, in Sheffield Shield cricket, New South Wales has virtually ended Queensland's hopes of making the Shield final. Chasing the Blues' first innings total of 412, the Bulls fell well short, destroyed by the spinners. In Adelaide, the Tasmanian openers got their team off to a flying start, both approaching centuries as they chased South Australia's first innings score of 489. An amazing match at the Wacker, with Western Australia set for outright victory against Victoria after another batting collapse from the victors. Well, Australian Rugby Sevens captain David Campese says that the Aussie side is set to claim the Digital Sevens here tomorrow. Campese said despite having a number of rookies in the lineup, he was confident they could take the title.
David Campese arrived back in town this morning, ready for his first hometown game since 1986. For the big crowd expected at Bruce Stadium, it will be a special day. For Campo, though, it's just another game.
You know, I just turn up and play the game, basically. I don't really worry about where I'm playing. They say that Carter Farm Parks is, you know, it's a legend sort of oval, which it is, but I mean, it's an oval like anywhere else in the world. So just get out there and play the game, and just when it's finished, it's finished.
The Australian team had its first training session this afternoon, not the perfect lead-up for an international tournament.
The last couple of years, I think because key players have been missing, and it's very difficult to sort of pick a good team when you've got half the players unavailable. So Glenn's taken it pretty serious, so the Australian Rugby Union, and you know, we're looking for this as a stepping stone to Hong Kong next week.
Australia has a tough ask first up tomorrow. They lead off the tournament playing defending champions Western Samoa at 2:30. For ACT rugby supporters, special interest will centre on local players Dave Grimmond, George Gregan and Joe Roth. The youngsters were called into the Aussie team after impressing Coach Ella at recent Sevens tournaments.
The selectors have got a good vision. They are actually looking for younger players. And the 3 Canberra players I know who played pretty well, I believe. But Dave Grimmond played extremely well last week at Terrigal. And like, to give them the exposure against the international competition like tomorrow, and it's fantastic for the guys, and hopefully they'll learn from that and keep on going forward, and that's what the Sevens is all about.
And if you can't make the sevens, you can catch all the highlights here on Capital at 11:35 tomorrow night.
Well, world record breaker Rebecca Brown and bronze medalist Samantha Riley are set for a two-woman war at the Australian swimming titles being contested in Brisbane. And a breaststroke record could just be the prize for the winner.
Samantha Riley swam the fastest time in the heats of the 100 this morning at Chandler, beating Brooke Hansen in 1 minute 10.75 seconds. Rebecca Brown was just over a second slower, but equally as impressive, and the two may well push each other to a new world mark tonight. Rebecca's coach, Michael Piper, refused to comment until after tonight's final to keep the pressure off his young world champion. In the men's 400 freestyle, Brisbane teenager Daniel Kowalski qualified ahead of both Glenn Houseman and Kieran Perkins for tonight's final. Although 3 seconds faster than Houseman and 4 better than Perkins, it's hard to see him toppling the two in the final. Last night at Chandler, Hayley Lewis swam her fastest 400 free in 3 years to take her second gold medal of the titles.
It's been a while since I've been under 410, so I've been training really well, so I was just sort of pumped up to do it.
But the performance of the night belonged to butterfly swimmer Scott Miller in the 200 metres backstroke. Miller switched stroke and smashed the Commonwealth record.
Let's check the time. Yes! It's under 2. What a great swim!
Well, it was a backstroke, and my butterfly came good all of a sudden, and I sort of drifted off the backstroke and concentrated on the fly, and now the backstroke's going good.
Miller can't swim the event at the Games. It's after his 200 butterfly. Arthur Higgins, 10 News.
Well, Jane Fleming has qualified for her third Commonwealth Games event after winning the heptathlon at the AIS track just across the road from me at the moment. Fleming finished the heptathlon with a score of 6,010 points to gain automatic selection.
Day 2 of the competition, and Jane Fleming was beginning her run to Canada, a mark of 6.03 metres, giving her top spot in the long jump. With a second to Kylie Coombe in the javelin, it was left to the 800 metres to amass the points necessary for automatic selection. With the competition out of the way, it was time to recover from an arduous week on the track and plan for the future.
Oh, I'm having 10 days rest, which will be great now, and then I'm going to get back into some serious work, and I have a meeting in New York on the 21st of May, a heptathlon in Europe on the 28th and 29th, back home, and I'm just going to train through. I'm not going to spend much time in Europe this year.
Meanwhile, the men's competition was looking like a one-horse race. South Australian Dean Smith just crossing behind Peter Winter in the 110 metres hurdles, but throwing a strong 46.16 metres in the discus. The pole vault belonged to Queensland's Warren Evans, who equalled his state's record with a clearance of 4.8 metres. A fourth for Smith in the javelin was followed by a sound win for Nick Foley in the 1,500 metres. The Northern Territory's Brendan Tennant finishing second, giving both Smith and Tennant automatic selection for the Games. Sally McDougall, 10 News.
Australia's Patrick Rafter is through to the semi-finals of the Lipton Tennis Tournament in Florida after beating American Jim Grab. The young Queenslander came from behind to score a 3-set victory. His semi-final opponent is Andre Agassi, who upset number 2 seed Stefan Edberg in straight sets.
Following his giant-killing run of late, Patrick Rafter met another unseeded player in the quarter-finals in Jim Grab. The American has also been in great form, and he proved it by taking the first set 6-1. The turning point came in the fourth game of the second set, Grab twisting his ankle rushing to the net. Rafter took advantage, coming back to level the match by taking the second 6-4. With Grab's running game limited, the result was a formality. The American tried hard, but Rafter had all the answers. The Australian wrapped it up 6-1 in the decider, booking a semi-final appointment with another American, Andre Agassi. Meanwhile, Canberra's Jodie Richardson is through to the semi-finals of the ACT Women's Open after beating the top seed Shannon Peters. She now meets third seed Tang Min of Hong Kong. Another international player, Carolyn Bodart, is also through to the semis, where she'll take on the top remaining seed, Angie Woolcock. The Tasmanian had a tough start to her quarter-final against Western Australia's Siobhan Drake-Brockman, losing the first set 6-4. But Woolcock had a powerful finish, wrapping up the last 2 sets 6-love, 6-1, earning favouritism for the title. Anthony Robertson, 10 News.
Well, day 2 of the national gymnastics title in Perth were marked by a loss in form by Australia's leading female exponent, Victoria's Joanna Hughes. But while Hughes struggled through the optional section, a brilliant debut in senior ranks for 14-year-old West Australian Jenny Smith.
Jenny Smith is the youngest competitor in the senior section, but you wouldn't have known it last night. Her work on the uneven bars produced the highest score of the event so far, 9.662, and she ended the night with overall first placing. Meanwhile, championship favourite Joanna Hughes was having her problems. A poor beam exercise ending in an undignified manner, and later another tumble in the middle stages of her floor routine. Hughes ending the night in a disappointing 4th place. In the men's senior compulsories overnight, a solid performance by Brett Hudson of New South Wales, leaving him a whisker off first place behind Queensland's Andrei Kravtsov. While in the under-18 men's, tiny West Australian David Schneider did well to finish second in a field considerably older than himself. Ian Brayshaw, 10 News.
Well, with Canberra hosting the Guineas meeting on Monday, there's no local race meetings here over the weekend. Tony Campbell's tips for the interstate meetings are as follows. In Sydney, the Melbourne galloper Golden Sword to score, while down south, a short price but a good thing, Twist of Love, says Tony. And if you're looking to get set with the bookies tomorrow, they'll be fielding at the Canberra Pacing meeting at Exhibition Park, where our informed tipster, the Rainsman, says back our revenge in race 6. Well, now for the fishing tips from Brian Pratt from the tackle box, and some tips tonight for fishermen in the Tuggeranong region.
Well, good evening, everybody. This week we're on the Murrumbidgee River at Canberra Pool. Not a bad fishing hole because we're upstream from most of Canberra's polluted areas. It's a pretty good place to try for a Murray cod and a golden perch. This week also, to the south of us, the trout streams are starting to fish very well indeed. They've got a lot of water in following rain and the temperatures are dropping, and that means good fish. The big lakes, though, are slower to respond and the fish are still deep and pretty hard to find. Down the coast, the news is all good, especially if you like snapper. There's been some big ones taken this week from South Durras and from Bingie. Offshore, the marlin scene is still good. Been some lovely blacks and striped marlin brought into Narooma and Bermagui. And offshore, the news is even better. 20 kilometres offshore from Bermagui on the 12-mile reef, there's a great horde of yellowfin tuna coming down, feeding on the frigates and striped tuna. A great weekend to be up there. Now, the sort of place you're going to look for a cod is under that overhanging tree there, using a big deep diver like this poltergeist. And in the sandy areas, for both Murray cod and golden perch, try this flashy spinner, especially late in the afternoon.
Well, that's the sport from Bruce Stadium tonight, Greg. A couple of updates for you. The Raiders had a good start tonight. They won the under-21s 20-18, 0-all in reserve grade. Probably the reason for that is that South Sydney got lost in the traffic and they were about 10 or 15 minutes late in running onto the field. Let's hope the first grade side doesn't get lost too.
Got lost on a roundabout today, Pete. Thanks. Have a good night. When we return, Mike Larkin joins us again from Bruce Stadium and the start of the International Dragon Boat Festival in Canberra.
7:30 tonight, there's a new Grace Brothers heir.
I'm afraid it's true. Daddy!
But will it go to his head?
I feel like royalty.
Then batter up for a cricket match that'll have you in stitches. Are You Being Served? Followed by Grace and Favour tonight.
Right now at Red Rooster, we're ready with these really red-hot deals. A delicious chicken roll, crispy chips and a Coke, all reduced to $3.65. You save over $2. Or our Hawaiian pack of quarter chicken, crispy chips, pineapple, banana and a Coke, all reduced to $3.85. You save over $2. Red Rooster's red-hot deals. Miss them and you'll see red. Red Rooster.
How close can you get to a leopard? This close, or this close? Animal World brings you closer, a really in-depth look at the world's mammals that focuses on a single animal every week. Animal World explores the life or death issues of survival now and in the future. With 20 cents from every part one sold going to Worldwide Fund for Nature, Animal World builds into the complete family reference to our planet's most fascinating creatures. Animal World, out now.
March into Allen's Retrovision Superstores and save. Mobile phones with features galore, $4.99. Sharp Hi-Fi Stereo VCRs, just $7.49. Sharp Stereo Music Systems with 5-disc CD, $4.29. Akai Remote Control TVs, just $5.59. Panasonic mid-size Genius Microwaves, $3.99. Whirlpool Frost-Free Refrigerators, just $8.99 after a guaranteed $100 trade-in on your old fridge. At Allen's Retrovision Superstores with Fishwick Open Canberra Day holiday.
It's on! The biggest lighting sale this town has ever seen. So big, we've built this huge marquee outside Southside lighting with thousands of lighting bargains, most well under half normal prices. Sensors only $26. Alex security lights $50. Exhaust fans from $24. Fan lights only $75. You'll never ever see prices like this. Look at these quality bunker externals, $25. There are so many bargains, we've filled our showroom and there's 10. Glow packs, 10 for $6. Over 2,000 fluoros under current wholesale. 3 light pendants from only $39.90 and crystal oysters half price, only $29. Plus, downlights from a crazy $6. Hurry, there are thousands of bargains, but there will be thousands of people all this long weekend. The 20th anniversary marquee sale at Southside Lighting, Canberra Avenue, Fishwick. The biggest lighting sale this town has ever seen.
We cross back now to Mike Larkin at Bruce Stadium for all the weather details.
That's right, it's game one for the Canberra Raiders for 1994 at home, and the crowd has been building up in the last 15 or 20 minutes. It is cold, it's windy out here. All I want right now is a hot cup of coffee. Let's have a look at those maps of New South Wales, courtesy of Realty World. And as you can see overnight, the rain falling mostly along the coast. The top rainfall reading 6 millimetres up at Nimbin. If we have a look at today's chart, top rainfall reading just 1 millimetre between 9 and 3 o'clock. Pretty cold this morning. It was -5 in Perisher, and it got up to 29 at Brewarrina. Around Australia today, capital city maximums ranging from 17 degrees in Hobart to a scorching 37 degrees in Perth, 19, 20, 21 degrees in the southeast, a sunny but cool 17 down in Hobart. The satellite picture, and the only cloud really worth mentioning, is associated with tropical cyclone Sharon, which continues to move away from the mainland. In saying that, I'm sure the folks up at Exmouth in northern Western Australia are keeping a close eye on tropical cyclone Sharon. A look at the synoptic chart, and as you can see, there's a very large sell-off high in the Tasman Sea. At the moment, directing a pretty cool airstream, a south-southeasterly, and that's why temperatures are below average, and the front is reasonably obvious. It's moving into the Bight region. If we have a look at tomorrow's chart, that high pressure system is moving slowly northeastwards. In doing so, the days will get slightly warmer, only a degree or two day by day, but still pretty cold at night. And the front moving into the Bight is weakening. If you're travelling interstate tomorrow, Melbourne at top of 22 degrees. In Sydney, some early morning showers, but clearing at top of 23. A sunny 26 in Brisbane. And over in Perth, again a scorcher, 37 degrees the expected top. Okay, a little closer to home, the Southern Tablelands forecast. A cold old Friday night, including around 0 in Cooma, 3 in Goulburn. Boy, is that cold. Morning frost and fog patches, clearing to a good-looking day. Light northeasterly winds, only around 21, 22 for a top, but if you can escape the wind, it will be nice. The south coast, partly cloudy with a clearing overnight shower in the Illawarra, but tomorrow fine and mostly sunny. The wind a light to moderate southeast and northeasterly. Wollongong 15 to 23, Bega 10 to 21. And now for the ACT. Well, it's already feeling rather cool here in Belconnen at the Bruce Stadium, and it's expected that the mercury will fall down to about 6, not tonight, but early tomorrow morning. And after a chilly start, a lovely 22 degrees tomorrow, ideal for the rugby sevens here at Bruce. Light southeast and northeasterly winds on the lakes for the dragon boats at about 15 k's or less. The sun rising at 6:05, setting at 6:17. The outlook for Sunday, fine around 21 degrees, and then your Canberra Day public holiday, about 23 degrees with sunshine all the way. Maybe a little bit of cloud Sunday morning. Interstate, or overseas in fact now, Athens at top of 19 degrees. Barbados, that's the place to be if you like hot weather, at top of 30. Cairo, 23 after an overnight low of 12. Honolulu, 20 to 26. And London, about 10 degrees after a reasonably chilly 4-degree start. Miami at top of 27. Moscow, -5 to +4. Paris, a top of 9 degrees. And Zurich, grey and 8. That is the forecast. Enjoy your long weekend. And don't forget, if you do get a chance, get involved in the 1994 Canberra Festival as it sort of winds down, including fireworks Monday night. Enjoy your weekend. Good night.
Thanks, Mike. Sounds good. Finally tonight, Canberra's International Dragon Boat Festival got off to a colourful start today with a ceremony on Lake Burley Griffin. Crews taking part in the weekend competition paddled across the lake to be greeted by actors in traditional costume and flags of competing teams. Buddhist monks then performed a blessing ceremony, dotting the eyes of each boat's dragon's head to bring luck. More than 100 teams from around Australia and overseas will take part in the 2 days of competition with entries in school and open divisions. And that's all from us. Whatever you're doing this weekend, hope you enjoy it.
See you on Monday. Good night.